Hi, my name is Damon Lembi, and I'm the CEO of Learn It. I hope you enjoy your class. And if you do, please like and subscribe to my channel because we have plenty of more content coming. Have a good day.
Hello, and welcome to Business Writing Principles. The purpose of this course is to give you a nice, clear, sincere tone when you're writing your business communication. It's one of the most necessary skills in today's world. We do so many emails and texts and different written examples of our communication. We want to make sure our messages are landing the most effective way possible. So we're going to go through here today to show you our 5-step process on how to really enhance and improve your business writing skills. So what are we going to explore? The first thing is this: the challenges of digital communication and business writing. Second, we're going to get into Learn It's personal write model for clear and effective business writing. What are the 5 steps you want to focus on? Make sure you're really landing your messages. And also the tips to improve your email efficiency and your etiquette. So why is this important? We talked about the power and the challenge of digital communication. So what are we noticing, and why is business writing so important? First thing, 70% of office workers experience some form of unclear digital communication from their colleagues. 70%. So these emails are coming in and coming in and coming in, and so many folks are left, what am I supposed to do? What does this mean? And they need more clarification, which means more time is being wasted. So what happens here is the average employee wastes 4 hours a week on poor digital communication. So the idea is they sit back and they go, what do I do? I'm not so sure. And they're sort of left ruminating, stuck. Now, what's the end result of this? This is just for the average employee. If we compound this across multiple employees, what we're seeing here is a $180 billion waste across the American economy due to confusing digital communication. That's an enormous number. And so our goal here is, as you're thinking about your emails and your texts and your chats and your Slacks and all things you use, what are the things you can do to stop causing or contributing to that waste? Does that make sense? So here's the thing. One of the most underrated skills of successful people is the ability to write clearly and effectively. Can you write to a place where it's a very sincere, confident tone, so someone's not left wondering what's going on and they're not judging or putting sort of their spin on your message? It's such a powerful, underwritten ability. So going forward here, we're going to walk you through how to watch what you write, which is an acronym. We're going to go through our principles of effective business writing. So I'll introduce it to you now. So the first thing is who. We're going to go in more detail, but here's a high-level view at this. When you think of your email or your written communication, who is the person you're talking to? What's their role? What are they going through? What's happening for that person? Also, the reason why you're actually writing. What's the intention behind your message? Inform. How do you plan to get this message across? How do you plan to inform this person? Also, you got to consciously focus on the tone. What's the tone of your writing? Is it coming across the right way, or is it opening up to a possibility of like, whoa, that was too harsh, that was too soft? Is your tone in the right place? And finally, do you spend time editing? Going back and to make sure you got a really clear message coming across that doesn't leave someone judging you or forming a bias based on what you've written. So that's the high-level view of our write concept. So here we go. Get your notebooks out, sit up in your chair, and get ready. We're going to go through each detail of this to really enhance your business writing. So the first part of our write framework or our write principles is the who. So you see here it says excellent business writing focuses on who you are writing to, your audience, and not on you. In this step, it's critically important to make sure you're not just coming from your own style and your own perspective of what serves you. The goal here is to serve the person you're writing to and really consider their role, their title, their level, their responsibilities. Really put yourself in their shoes. Try to show some empathy for what they're going through. Make it land on them. If you just simply write, this is what I think, this is what I mean, what happens is you're coming from your perspective and that may not land on the person you're writing to. So you got to take some time here, because this is the foundation of our whole model, to sit back and think, who am I writing to? What's most important to them? What's going to register or connect with them? So here's a key thing to consider. In the email etiquette is the greeting and the closing. So what this means is a company called Perkbox did some research on over 300,000 emails to see what was the most effective way to start your email. And so the highest rated greetings from over 300,000 versions of this, one is hi and hello. So hi and hello is highly rated. Hi everyone, or hi team, or hi name, or good morning, good afternoon, or dear. These types of beginnings really register best. So as a best practice going forward from here, be thinking, do my emails start with hi or hello? Do they have that formality, that proper connection? So I'm not biasing or jading the person I'm talking to. Now, on the flip side, what should you avoid? So one is no greeting at all. You just respond. What can happen is, again, it may make sense in some cases where it's maybe not as formal, but in general, if you just respond, think of the receiving end of that person. You didn't bother to say, hi, how are you? Or hello, or good morning, whatever. You didn't do that. Now I'm just kind of getting hit by this communication. Secondly, you just put their name down. Now, what's interesting about this does come from over 300,000 touch points, right? So keep in mind, if you just say their name, Calvin, party feels like, how many of you don't feel like you're getting in trouble right now? If they just go, Susan, and you go, oh, what'd I do? Okay, so that hi or hello or good morning takes away that sort of abruptness, if you will. Hey, very common, but again, it seems to be a little bit too informal. Now, unless it's someone who's super close to you, maybe that's the exception. And there's always an exception to the rule. But as a general good practice, that might be not the best way to go. Or happy Labor Day, happy whatever day is sort of odd as well. So we want to watch out for those. So good best practices to enhance your writing, especially in the email and the who's, notice how you're starting and also how you're finishing. So what are the best rated closes from Perkbox? What they found was kind regards is one of the best ones. Also, sincerely works well, not so jarring or jading. Best wishes or best, and finally cheers. These types of closes land well on most recipients from a body of over 300,000 touch points. Follow so far? Now, things you might want to avoid in closing are no closing. You just bam, just done. It's so abrupt, not really the best. Second, love may not be the best one, especially in business writing. Okay. Thanks and regards, and finally just name. You don't say sincerely, you don't say best, you just put Calvin, or you put John, or Don, or Susan, or Rick, whatever you put. You don't actually, so that's not the best way to go either. So our first cornerstone is the who. Who are you talking to? What level are they? What are their responsibilities? And what greeting or closing makes the most sense to really land on this individual? You follow so far? Okay, great. So stay with me here, because now we're going to jump into the next part of our model, which is reason. The next part of our model is reason. Specifically, what's your reason for writing? So once you've identified who you're writing to, what level they're on, their experience, what their responsibilities are, and you try to really be empathetic to them, now you're going to think, why am I doing it? What's the point? What am I trying to get across here? So the idea is, am I updating? Is that why I'm writing? Is it possibly that I'm requesting information from them? Is it possible that I'm trying to sell them something, or I'm persuading them in some fashion, or I want to entertain them possibly, or marketing? So as you go through what's your reason for writing, you want to sit back for a second and think, what am I doing? Why? Why am I writing this? It's so critically important to carve that out first before you start. So as you go into this, you say, okay, so why am I writing? The next question becomes, should I be writing at all? Does it make sense that I should be writing, or should I consider another mode of communication? Because maybe you don't need documentation, or there's a certain level of confidentiality you need, or urgency you need. And so maybe it doesn't make sense to write, or maybe it absolutely does. So I'm going to go through a few things here to help you consider, should you be writing at all? So the most common one, of course, is email. I think people probably over-rely on email. Now, why is that? So when you're using email, maybe it's for a non-urgent matter, meaning your response time isn't so critically important. Or potentially, you need to have a paper trail. So if you're sending an email, things to consider are, you know what, I don't need this right away, and I need to have documentation or proof. That's why I'm sending an email. Or maybe you're doing a chat or a Slack type communication. And so here it's urgent. I need a quick, fast response, and I don't require much back and forth. It could just be like a quick one-shot response. So now I'll use chat, I'll use Slack, I'll use Teams, one of these kind of things to get back to me quickly like that. Now, the next one might be voice call. So now, why would you use a voice call instead of writing? Well, if I'm going to use a voice call, I want an urgent response. I'm calling, I need to know right now, like immediately, ideally. Or it might be non-urgent and just requires more of a dialogue. What do I mean? So maybe it's not like, oh my gosh, pressing, but going back and forth through an email or through a chat would be just too difficult. So it's probably faster and more efficient just to talk to you to say, hey, can you give me your perspective on this? Let's go back and forth and get this clear faster. Make sense? Okay. Next one here is this, a video meeting. So why would I do a video meeting versus writing? Well, for all your meetings, let's say, or we got multiple people in the room and you're getting very few points, much more efficient. It's sensitive matter and it requires a conversation. So maybe you're giving a difficult conversation or feedback or something that requires a little bit more confidentiality. And so now I'm going to see you eyeball to eyeball, face to face, barring being with you live in the same room. I can at least see you here on camera and really get into your reaction and see your emotional context by your body language, your facial expressions, your voice tones, all of that I can't really catch necessarily in an email. Do you follow that? So if you think back for a second, okay, listen, why am I writing? Am I updating? Am I requesting? Am I persuading? Am I selling? As you're going through those thought processes, which of these modes makes the most sense? And I think sometimes people rely on one mode too often, particularly email, where it makes more sense to vary it up so you can enhance your communication. And it really reserves your business writing for the most correct or proper or ideal scenarios. Follow so far? Great. Now watch this. Question for you. I know you can't answer me, but I'm kind of in your mind, think of this question. When is it a good idea to communicate emotional or sensitive subjects over email or chat? Take your time here. And the answer is never. It's never a good idea. Ever. Never do this. Okay? Never do this. Never do sensitive stuff over email or chat. Why? Well, part of it is you could misinterpret my writing. I may be being totally gentle in my writing, and all of a sudden the person's like, we tend to be more negative in our responses. We're hardwired for that. And so when I see this in an email or a chat as a recipient, my mind can go in multiple directions. So we don't want to do that, okay? So why though? So why do people still do this? If we know we shouldn't, why do we communicate sensitive information via email? Well, here's one reason. To avoid the discomfort of others' emotional responses. So put yourself in that moment. You're coming in and you got this difficult thing you want to share. And the idea of saying it to the person's face and here with me in the room or on video, makes you, right? So to avoid that feeling, you know what? Email. Now that's not the best way because when that person's on the other side, we don't know where it's going to go. We want to be very upfront with these types of things. Also, to have time to contemplate and choose our words is another reason why people do it, which actually might be an okay thing. But I would still suggest not sending the email necessarily, but it's a good idea to get your ideas together at least. Okay, so you take time, you slow down, get your thoughts together. That's a benefit. But the idea is when you got that stuff put together in your mind, don't email it. You go and talk to the person eyeball to eyeball. Follow? So here's your first think and write exercise. In a moment, you're going to pause me, please. And you're going to pause me and simply do this exercise in your notes. Here are the first two steps of our write framework are 1, who, and 2, reason. So think about these questions here and capture answers. How do you and your organization use different communication tools? How do you use email? How do you use video? How do you use chat? Okay. Do you have clear usage expectations and guidelines around email, Slack, voice call, video meetings? Okay. Second, how do you manage your communication channels to maintain a healthy work-life balance? And 2, how can you better utilize these tools to be more empathetic towards your audience? So take a moment here. Let's say take like 3 to 4 minutes here and pause me, please, and go ahead and answer these questions. Okay? So you pause me. I'll be right here when you get back. I promise. Here we go. Pause me now. Okay. So you pause me, right? You promise? Okay, good. So what you have now in your notes are the answer to these two questions to get an idea of how do these who and reason sections work within your organization. This is a great foundation for us as we go forward to continue on with our right model. But before we do, I want you just to pause here because we're going to get into how to have the right call to action. So stick with me, okay? So we're continuing on with reason here, meaning why are you writing? What is your intention here? So to improve this, how to improve your reason for writing, what we need is a call to action or a CTA. We need people to realize when they receive your communication, they sit back and they say, that's what you want me to do. They're not confused or wondering, am I supposed to do something here or not? Right? So use a CTA to communicate exactly what you need and when you need it. So when the recipient receives the communication, they go, that's what I'm doing. So why use a CTA? Well, the average office worker receives 121 emails a day. Whoa. So the average worker spends 2 to 3 hours per day checking work email and an additional 2 hours per day on personal emails. So what happens is they're sifting through all this email and they have to decide, do I do something? When does it due? Is it anything due? What? And so this confusion can really bog people down. So here's how you incorporate a CTA in your email in 2 places. So 1, the subject line. Put it right in that first intro, decision needed. You see in our example here? Decision needed. Ding, I need you, recipient person, to decide on something. Got that? The second place is you put it in the body of the email. So I'll read it to you. Just give me a second here. It says, "Hi, Mark. Have you had a chance to review our weekly meeting notes and decide on a third-party vendor to help create our product?" So it's a quick question. And Mark goes, did I? Next thing is, in order for the manufacturers to stay on schedule for the product launch date, we will need to decide on a vendor by end of day, EOD, Friday, April 1st. Okay, whoa, we're getting kind of close to a call to action. Do you see that? He can see when it's due. Also, can you please notify me of your decision by the end of the week? Bang. There it is. It's in the body of the email, the call to action. Give me your decision by the end of the week. And if he's not totally clear, April 1st, we need to get this in. Do you see that? So what happens now, Mark gets his 121 emails. And he goes, this email from Mary, I know what I got to do. Give her my decision. Bang. It really enhances your writing. Follow that so far? So here are some incorporating subject lines with a CTA. So if you're doing your subject line, and when you think, what can I put in there? You can put action required. You can put reply required. Maybe required by 4:30 on 5/24. What that is very clear. There's a call to action by a certain date. Or you're saying approval, decision, urgent, time sensitive. No action required. So when they read this and they go, okay, here comes your email. Maybe you don't have a call to action, so the person can kind of relax a little bit. Or no reply required. Again, very specific as to the instructions for this person. You follow? So why are instructive subject lines so important? Well, 46% of emails are open on a mobile device. So when you open it, you've got this little limited view here. Also, 64% of individuals make a decision whether I should open it or not. So they got their phone out, they pull it up and they go, do I open that email? Yes or no, based on that subject line. So if there's a call to action in there, you get a pretty good chance someone's going to open it. Also, you're only seeing 5 to 6 words typically in that subject line, especially on a phone. So this person's in their car, they're walking through the office, they're in the restaurant, out for a coffee, whatever it is, and bang, they open your message and they go, oh wait, open that one. We're trying to make that much more effective. Business writing principles that are really effective. True? Okay, so how do you do this? So subject line do's. Some best practices for you can start applying even today. Is 1, keep it short. Okay, can't say it enough. Keep it short. 2, provide a summary. Also, include a CTA. So in those subject lines, short, summary, action required by, bang. Okay, and use dates and times. I'm a big fan of that because you can measure it, therefore you can manage it. It's very clear expectations. These are all good do's. Now, what are some don'ts? Well, don't use all caps. I know it sometimes looks cool, I guess, but it also looks kind of yelly, kind of screamy. So don't do that. Also, don't use excessive punctuation where your exclamation marks like crazy. It's like that looks also a little strange. Don't use more than 10 words. Remember, you're going to lose a bunch of it in a mobile device. And don't use vague titles. Please read important email. Everyone says that. So no, that's not going to get me either. So these are some don'ts you want to avoid. Make sense? So at this point now, we have covered the who in our framework and the reasons to why you're doing it. Next up, we're going to get into, hey, informing them. How are you going to make this happen now? Okay, here we go. This is the inform portion of our write framework. So with inform, the real intention here is to effectively and empathetically inform your audience of the reason you're writing. So how you inform who you are writing to is all about them, not you, right? So how do we actually inform what's going on now? So the key here is this. If you want to inform in an effective and empathetic way, you got to make it simple and specific. Okay, so if you really want to make it empathetic and effective, make sure your communication is quite simple and quite specific. And so why? Why is that important? Well, the first thing is this. It makes it easier to reply quickly. If I can quickly understand what's going on, I go, oh, I can knock out an answer very fast for you. Or they can increase your response rate. So people aren't getting back to you as much as you would like. This can drive that number up. If people can say, oh, I simply see what's going on and how specific it is to me, okay, I can knock that out too. And third, it cuts down on your overall response time. So there's a rate and also a time it takes for people to get back to you. You follow? So if it's nice and simple, you're going to see that number gets changed. So then the question becomes, so how do you create simple and specific emails? Well, specificity is this. Consider the curse of knowledge. So let's go through it a high level first, and I'll go in more detail in a second. So the curse is you know a lot and you just dump it all on someone and they go, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to read this thing? Or you want to make sure you're informing with the 5 W's. We'll cover that. And you want to replace weasel words. Now on simplicity, maybe take away some of the extraneous words, things you don't need that have no impact. Or use active voice. And I'll explain that in a second. And then leverage the clear formatting. So when someone sees your communication, they go, oh, okay, it's not so overwhelming up front. So go through these in more detail in a second here. So the first one is this, specificity, the curse of knowledge. And if you're watching this, I trust you're a professional and you're great at what you do. And you've got a great body of knowledge behind you, or experience at least. So you know a lot of things. And what happens is the person you're talking to, who you want to inform, doesn't have the same level of understanding that you do. And here's what happens is, here's what they know. So you have all this info, you have this little bit that you want to inform, and this is what they know. It's a bit smaller. And what can happen is, it can sort of get cloudy as to you giving too much away. So our goal is to kind of clean that up a little bit. So combating the curse of knowledge means provide baseline info to make sure everyone's at the same point. Okay, so here's where we are. Does this make sense to you? Are we level set? Are we aligned here? And get that line up first. Second, be concrete, very clear and specific, no vague terms. And of course, watch out for jargon. If you're giving too much technical jargon, the recipient may not quite understand what's going on. So be careful. You've got all this beautiful knowledge that you're really making sure you're putting it in the right context so people can understand what's going on. That's the first one, to make it more specific to who you're writing to and how you're going to inform. Second, you want to inform with the 5 W's. So as you're about to communicate to this individual, you say, hey, who am I talking to? Okay, what's going on? When's it happening? Where is it happening? Why is it happening? And how is it happening? Now it's very fast, but I'll give you an example here. So who? The financial analyst gives us feedback on information that he observed. That's the subject. Who gave it to us? What? A decline in supplies. What happened? Okay. Where? Where did this happen? It happened in 3 stores in New York. Okay. Also, when? Over the last 15 days. How? By changing regulations caused this. And how much? We lost $10,000. So why though? So plastic materials are becoming replaced with more eco-friendly materials. Laws are expected to be passed in the next 30 days. Now, As you see this, would you say, okay, Calvin, are you saying I should put in my communication who, what, where, when? Maybe not, but it gives you a blueprint as to how to make sure you're communicating and how you're informing the right information so it's nice and specific. So you might take these details and then put them into a sentence or a paragraph or 2 paragraphs to make sure you're getting the nice specific information going across. Do you follow? It gives you a nice roadmap to do that. Now, here's the next one. Replace weasel words. Okay. So these words are typically, they link quantity, but they don't have a lot of precision around them. So if I say the most, yeah, that's suggesting quantity, but not a lot of precision. If I say many or rarely or countless or incredible, they have this quantities feeling to them, but there's not a lot of precision to the word. So watch this. Here's an example. The United Airlines CEO says, listen, I'm excited about the incredible opportunity that the United team has to improve the travel experience essential to the vitality of the globe. Business to the personal lives of millions of people. Okay, so you can see we've put some of those weasel words in there that suggest quantity, but don't give a lot of precision. So in the revised version, we'd say, listen, I am excited about the opportunity, and notice incredible is dropped, the opportunity the United team has to improve your travel experience. Bang, period. One thought. And then it says, with 140 million trips, not just millions, which is, again, quantity without a real precision around it. With 140 million trips last year, I know that United is vital to global business and personal travel. Has a much better sound and flow to it, and you're informing at a much better level with the second version. One more thing to go through is simplicity. So you want someone to increase their response rates, response time, make it easier for them to understand what's going on, get rid of extra words. Extra words slow you down, bog you down. So in this case, they have very little impact. They don't change the meaning of the communication. So very or just or really or totally, amazing, thing. These words, you put them in and they don't change the meaning if you take them away. Extraneous. Make sense? So watch this. I'm reaching out to you because I requested to meet with us before. We didn't get a chance to connect until now about the Jones case. Okay, so now look at this. Whoa, you cut the whole thing out. And so let's do it again slower. So in the first version, it says, hey, I'm reaching out to you today because you requested to meet with us before and we didn't get a chance to connect until now about the Jones case. Okay, and we take away the extra words and we say, I'm writing to you about the Jones case. What? Okay. The meaning didn't change. We got it. We just took away all those extra words. Do you follow? Okay. So as you do this, it makes it much better on the person. You're informing at a much better level. So also, one more thing here is using active voice. What this means is active voice, Matt wrote an email. Passive voice is an email was written by Matt. So it's not putting the focus on the actor. So here, active voice directs the reader's attention to who is performing the action. Matt is doing the action. If you say an email written by Matt, what? Hold on. So he's not actually doing it. It can be a little bit confusing for the recipient. So here, the lab was inspected and was found to not meet all safety standards. As a result, the lab was shut down and all workers were told to go home. The safety manager inspected the lab and found it did not meet safety standards. The manager decided to send all lab workers home. You hear that? So we're putting the active voice directs the reader's attention to who is performing the action. So in our case, the safety manager, the manager, they're performing the action. Follow? So as an information of how you're going to inform me, this is much clearer for me. Making sense? Good stuff. Also, and I'll do this one a little quicker and I'll go back in a second. So watch this. What I'm showing you here is leverage clear formatting. So as you look at this formatting, I want you to check your reaction on these 2 images I'm going to show you. So here's the first version. So you want to go bullet points, break up things in chunks, numbered lists can be helpful, and bold and italics. Okay, so remember, leveraging clear formatting. Here come the pictures. Boom. Okay, react to that. And then here is the clear formatting. Boom. See that? Let's go back for a second. So it says bullet points can break up chunks of info and make it easier to read. Okay. Numbered lists can be helpful when you need a response over several items, and bold and italics can draw your attention to key details. Got that? Look at this again. So here's the reaction. This comes in your inbox and you see this. And then here's the revised version is this. Feel the difference? You're like, whoa, okay, this is easier to take in. I'm not going to make you read this on video, but just notice that's the sensation that your reader or recipient is feeling. You go, okay, I'll look at this one. So use bullets, use italics if you can, numbered lists really help to really make it simple for someone to grasp. So now it's your turn. We're going to do a think and write with combining specificity and simplicity. And here's what I want you to do. Read this text on the side of the screen here and come up with as many opportunities to fix and improve this blurb. So you're thinking back to yourself, okay, maybe I take out weasel words. Maybe I take out extraneous words. Maybe I change the format. I use bullets or numbered lists. What can you do to make it more specific or more simple? There'll be many versions to this. And it's just me and you right now doing this. So pause me in a second and really go through this and try and revise this in a way that makes it more specific and simple with the intention of informing me of this message. Okay? So pause me now, take your time, and I'll be here when you get back with our version of what we came up with. Okay? Okay, great. Did you pause me? If you didn't, pause me now and go back and do it, please. That's how you get the learning, okay? So if you did do it, amazing, high five. Now, here comes our answer. Are you ready? We said this. We took out just, we took out all of, not all of like a fruit, but all of, took out really and definitely. And so our version became, I'm writing to express my appreciation for your hard work that went into achieving your year-end sales goals. As a thank you, I'll be gifting the team a virtual Friday coffee celebration. Keep a lookout for a Starbucks gift card in your inbox. Okay? That's our version. Yours might be a little different. It's okay. But we added some more specificity here, took out some of those extra extraneous words and things like that to make it land a little better. If you're in this direction, you're in good company. If not, it's okay. Just look at what was different for you and see if we can come more in alignment. All right, great. So we've covered the inform section. 2 more to go. Stay with me here. Now, let's explore tone. So we're trying to communicate in a written format. Let's be conscious of our tone, meaning strive for an overall tone that is confident, courteous, and sincere. Tone's one of those things that can be so easily misinterpreted. So it begs us to take our time and make sure our tone is on point. So why? So here's the first thing. 90% of office workers say they had digital messages misunderstood or misinterpreted. 90%. So you send your message and you think you're being perfectly sincere, perfectly confident, super gentle. And the person is like, wow, how could you be so rude? Or you're actually being quite aggressive and the person didn't even get the intention or the urgency. So we want to make sure that we're really interpreted the best possible. Also, 1 in 5, this is really high. 1 in 5 say they've been reprimanded, demoted, or even fired over misinterpreted messages. Like 20%. Okay? So what's going on here? What happens is our brains are hardwired to assume the negative. So if the tone is wrong, how many times have you probably been there where you read the message going, I can't believe they said that. Because your mind is like, looking for the problem. It's a survival mechanism to notice the negative and to look for it and hunt for it. So when you're reading an email, it may not, from the sender, intended to be negative, but our hard wiring takes over and goes, oh my gosh, and we assume it is. So knowing that, we have to spend time slowing down and really exploring, is my tone in the highest probability of being confident, sincere? Does that make sense? And so how do we actually slow down and really double check that our tone's in the right place? Well, we use the negative glasses test. The negative glasses test it's your tone check. So when you're writing it, it may feel right, but maybe you want to say it out loud and notice if you change your voice, does this actually come across the wrong way? Or is it possible that it really could come across the wrong way? So for example, if I say, sure, in an email, one person hears, sure, yeah, all right, great. Another person hears like, sure. Like, uh-oh, it's the same word. So when they don't have you saying it to them, it's open to their interpretation, which could lead to that negative bias kicking in. Watch out. Or you say, yep. Oh, for some people who are more experienced on the call here, on the video, they're thinking, oh, it's a huge trigger. Show me some respect. What's wrong with you? Right? So you got to watch out for these tones. Yeah, or what? So again, that respect doesn't show up there. That's fine. What are you, 12? So the idea is like you want to be careful with these phrases because when you're writing it, that's fine. You're thinking, that's fine. On the other side, what are you, 8-year-old? Right? You get so triggered by these. So you want to just do a tone check with your voice, the negative glasses test, because it's possible that these could be taken the wrong way. Make sense? Okay, great. Now, so what do we do then? So how do we go ahead and check to make sure this is right? I can't guarantee you're going to get it absolutely right. We're trying to increase your probability that your tone is right. So how do we increase your probability? Well, here's some guidelines for you. The tone sweet spot. We're trying to find that sweet spot that has a really low chance of this going the wrong way. So what that means is shorter messages tend to be in danger as being taken as passive aggressive. Yep. It doesn't really, so you want to make sure you don't go too short where someone's like, whoa, kind of like a backhanded slap. What is that? Also, longer messages provide opportunity to clarify, but can lead to slack-splaining. Okay? So if you go too long, a person's like, come on, you think I'm stupid? What are you doing? Right? So you want to make sure it's not too far the other way as well. These are just guidelines. So as you're doing your emails, we're going to get to edit in a minute, which was our final step. You'll sit back and just double check that this is in the right sweet spot. Also, added punctuations, emojis require finding a professional sweet spot. Sometimes there are certain emojis that may seem fun or relationship building, if you will. At the same time, you're in the risk of offending or coming across unprofessional. So you want to be testing, again, who am I talking to? Why am I doing this? How am I trying to inform? And that's going to affect the tone you're going to use. So here comes your negative glasses test. In a second, you're going to pause me again and go through your sent items list of emails that you've sent. Take a look at this and say, identify an email that have words or phrases that could have been misinterpreted. Yep, sure. Okay, that's fine. Sure, like what could be, and then what did you discover from your own emails? If you were to sit back on the recipient's end and seeing this without your voice there, whoa, what could this message have meant? So take like 5 minutes here, pause me, and go back, find one of your sent emails, and just see what you notice. Okay? So pause me now. Pause me now, seriously. Okay. So this is great. So I hope you pause me, and if you did, you're going to discover like, wow, it's interesting. I felt that message was quite good and respectful, and I kind of, I could see how someone can misinterpret it. Not all of your emails, of course, I understand, but enough that someone could just get the wrong idea. And we're trying to really enhance our abilities here. So this is good. Thank you for playing along with me here. Get ready. We're going to go into our final section now, which is on edit, which is a really crucial step to finishing off your writing abilities. Excellent. So far, what have we done? We looked at who. Who is your intended audience? The reason as to why. Why are you doing this? Inform. How are you going to inform them? And then what is the tone? And now as you finish off, this communication is you want to edit. You want to proofread your work. So number one, do you feel you don't have enough time or tell yourself you don't have enough time to proofread? So back earlier in this session, we talked about how you're getting 121 emails a day on average. And so it could really feel like, how in the heck am I going to find time to respond and proofread? So I get that. And second, do you proofread 90% or more of your written messages? So the real key, if we want to really enhance and have a nice confident, sincere tone and improve our business writing, we got to spend time in this edit section. So why is proofreading so important? Well, mistakes in written communication are most often interpreted as a lack of skill. So when the recipient or reader receives this communication and they see this lack of effort here, they go, this person's not good enough. Or they say, I don't trust you. Or they're challenging your intelligence even. And some people say, that's not fair. That's harsh. It's true. I would say it is. But again, we're hardwired to watch out for the negative. So if we're hardwired to watch out for negative, and I get mistakes and sloppy writing in your communication, I'm looking for like, hey, this person's a negative, this is a danger, or can I count on you? All of this stuff starts showing up because we're hardwired to do so. So if we don't want to trip someone's hardwiring, we need to figure out, okay, let's spend a few seconds or a minute here just to make sure that my content and my writing is good. So people judge your character, your business, or your organization, or your purpose based on your writing. And so it's really critical to take some time just to make sure before you send it off, it's in the place you want it to be. So editing is worth it. Now it says here, always proofread out loud. Now, this is a really good practice to get in because sometimes you just write it and it's in your head and you're not catching how it actually sounds. So by speaking it out loud, you go, oh, that does sound funny. Oh, that doesn't sound right. But if you don't say it out loud, you don't get a chance to trust that extra sense. So make sure when you're editing and proofreading, you do speak your communication out loud. I'm not saying scream in your office, right? But make sure it's loud enough that you can hear it yourself, okay? So if you do this, it really helps you to avoid judgment. There's a few areas we want to cover here. So when you're editing and avoiding judgment, first area is grammar and spelling. So it's easy to make slip-ups on these ones. You are or your, and we've all done it. But the thing is, if you do it in your communication on their end, they go, and it opens the door for judgment. So be consciously going back over your communication, or simple ones like this, there, and there. It's like, what? Did you say there 3 times? I did. Okay. So there is in them, there is the place, and they are. Okay. So you got this idea of like, wait, slow down, speak out loud, and make sure your intention is clear. It is and it's. Okay. So this little extra time here helps to avoid you being judged. Wrong punctuation, commas versus periods, semicolons versus colons, text type. Also, what else? What else comes to mind for you that you've seen? Okay, so these grammar and spelling places can really throw people off. Run-on sentences, I have nightmares about it from my classes in English when I was in high school. Okay, so these types of things, people start to judge. The next one here is actions and phrases. So watch out for your actions and phrases if you want to avoid judgment. So when you're going back when we're finished here, you want to proofread your work, notice, do you have these judgment-prone actions like all caps? You put all caps, whoa, the person's starting to get into judgment mode. Or unnecessary CCing. Everyone knows about this one, right? You really need to talk to this person. You've CC'd the entire department. Okay? Using kisses or XO. I'm not even sure who would do this, but don't do this. It's a judgment-prone action. Okay. Now, judgment-prone phrases. Just looping you in. Okay. So the phrase is like, just loop. It's going to lead someone going, come on. We don't want that. We don't want them to have that negative bias kicking into our communication. We're trying to up-level our communication. As per my last email, what am I not getting it now? Like, watch out. And finally, any update on this? So these types of things will trigger your recipient to start judging, and we don't want that, okay? Now also, emojis. And if you saw the previous section, I talked about this with tone. It also falls into your proofreading, where positive uses of emojis, it does help or support tone sometimes, but you gotta be conscious of who you're writing to. You can't abandon that. Who is this level you're responding to? If you're trying to deepen a relationship, show some vulnerability, some more connection maybe. If you're trying to call attention to details, it's like, oh, that changing dynamic from writing to a graphic can sometimes get someone's attention, right? Also, expressing who you are as a person is valid. And so certain places, it makes sense to offer more of who you are. Also, when it's not likely, when you should not use an emoji, say it slower, when it's likely best not to use emojis, okay? Thumbs down. So one, don't use that emoji, first of all. Third-party communication, okay? So if third-party connection with someone outside of the organization, don't do that. Senior leaders, so you write to the CEO and you start putting emojis on there. Again, who are you talking to? Be conscious of them, their level, their responsibility. When it doesn't fit your company culture, maybe your culture is not down with emojis. So you start throwing emojis in there and it's like, ugh, and you start opening yourself up to judgment because it's not part of how we communicate at this organization. Also, when you don't have strong camaraderie with an individual, if you don't have that rapport and that relationship, and you start dumping these things on, you're opening yourself up to a judgment. And that judgment before we covered was they judge your skill, they judge your intelligence, they judge your ability. And it's not fair, I understand that, but you want to avoid it because it's very human for folks to go in judgment mode. So to avoid that, be conscious of when you should and when you shouldn't use these emojis. Now, your turn to practice. Thinking right, editing to reduce judgment. So what's going to happen is this. Go over one of your emails. So pull one out of your sent folder. What email phrases, errors, or behaviors would you add to what we've discussed? What judgment is made from those behaviors, errors, or phrases? And finally, what will you do differently? Okay, so you've got this email you looked at before. And as you're reflecting on this, based on everything we've covered so far, editing to reduce the judgment, you say, okay, what phrases might you add? What errors or behaviors would you add? What judgment is made from those errors, in your opinion? And also, knowing that, what will you do going forward from here? So I know I'm not there with you. Please pause me and take some time to reflect and really make it real for yourself. If you did these things, what's possible and how could you change it? Fair? Okay, so go ahead, pause me now, and I'll be here when you get back. Okay, so you did it. Welcome to the end of the business writing principles. And so what have we covered so far? We talked about how to watch what you write. So who were you writing to? Who are you communicating to? What is the reason or why are you doing it? How are you going to inform this person? Your tone you want to use, and finally make sure you're editing it and proofreading to protect yourself from being judged. And so here, effective writing is not a skill that you were born with. It's a skill that you cultivate. So please rest assured, if you say to yourself, I'm not the strongest writer, it's okay. It's not something you're born to do. It's not part of your DNA. It's something you learn and build and develop and grow. And by covering these principles, you're certainly going to get better at your ability to effectively write and communicate. So coming out of this, what are the actions we want you to take? First thing is write for your audience in a way that is empathetic to their needs. So really take time to consider who am I speaking to, who am I communicating to, and really spend time connecting to their position. Second, include a CTA in the subject line of your emails to maximize the response rate. Action required, decision required. Those types of things. Keep it 4 to 6 words if you can. Also, proofread your writing out loud. Edit your writing to avoid judgment. Does that make sense? Do these 3 things at a minimum, and I promise you're going to see some nice changes in your response rates, the recognition you receive, and also the way people view you as a writer and a leader within your organization. Sound good? So with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We have much more to offer you. Even applied business writing, if you're interested in that as well, on Offsite. We have lots of courses and support material to go along with this. So if you're happy with what you saw here, please check us out on offsitebylearnit.com. We'd be happy to have you back anytime. And with that, thank you for your engagement and participation, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, everyone.